field issue dredging. One's also going to talk about land use along the bay and the shore. The third is America's Cup, which is movement of logistics. So while America's Cup is going on, how are the movement of goods going to take place? But when you get right down to it, all those topics feed into one important issue. It's jobs, it's economic activity, and it provides a tax base for local, state, and federal government. And a lot of that's going to be discussed today. Now, just a couple real quick housekeeping items before we begin. Restrooms, right through there. So if you need to use the restrooms, just go through the tent, the doors, and you'll be right in that area. You see blue cards on the table. When we have the Q&A, either Doug or Joe were right up here. We'll come and collect the cards, and they'll be brought up here. And so if you have a question, write it out on here. And also, we'd like you to put your name and email address. If for some reason your question is not able to be answered, we'll then submit it to the panelists or the speaker, and we've asked that they then provide a written response, and we'll get that response back to you so you can get your question answered. There's also we stopped doing the sign-in sheet when you came in, since there's a backlog. At some point in the break, if you have a chance, if you did not sign in, we'd love to have you sign in and get your email address. We ask that if you have a cell phone, you please put it on vibrate. That would be greatly appreciated. We also have the San Francisco Business Times in the back for our media sponsor, and they're back there, and you can find out more about what they do and how they advocate for business in Northern California. We also have a wine basket thanks to Scott Seafood. If you deposit your business card in that wine basket at the end of the session today at 4:35, we'll draw the name, and if you're here, you win the basket. If you're not, keep drawing a card. And the last thing is, in the program, hopefully you have one, we have an addendum. The flyer has 3 new sponsors that came in after the program was put together. But we also going to be doing a briefing on June 7th, and today's the first day it's been announced. And it's on ballast water. It's going to be 3 hours long. It's going to be held at URS's office in Oakland. And it's something that literally has an impact on all the people in here as well. Now I'd like to introduce the president of the Bay Planning Coalition, Jim Fiedler.
Thank you, John. Again, welcome on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Bay Planning Coalition. I want to welcome you all here today. Appreciate the work that John has done in setting this meeting up for us, this conference, and his planning group that worked with him in developing the speakers. So I hope you enjoy the day. But one thing's for certain, we needed the rain. We didn't want the rain on our conference, but we're in sort of an indoor-outdoor complex here. But I think one thing we can agree upon, all of us here in this room are in the water business in one way or another. Whether we deliver the water, like my agency, the Santa Clara Valley Water District, for homes, schools, and businesses and farms, or using it for transportation, commerce, recreation, mitigation, restoration, or preservation. We know it's vital to the economy, our livelihood, and our quality of life. And today we focus on water for its maritime purposes, how vital it is that John already described. I think we'll also see commerce in action today as we listen to the trains that we pass by, so it's a healthy sign for us to listen to. And plus, we're very close to the waterfront, and I appreciate the location. We can't get much closer to the bay than a location like Scott's in Oakland. But one thing that we're also aware of is, according to the American Society of Civil Engineers president, he noted, and it's no surprise to us, is that now is the time for us to make strategic long-term investments for our aging infrastructure to help meet the needs of not only of today's needs, but also those for our future generations. We know that the nation does not place very much primacy on restoring infrastructure. We know there's a huge backlog of cost and dollars needed to support the infrastructure, much like the maritime industry that we're going to talk about today. And some of that is not coming forward both at a local level, which is very difficult in California with Prop 218, at a regional level, at a statewide level, given the economic crisis of our state, and certainly nationally. But the voices that Bay Planning can help bring, to help lend a voice, to help shape the legislation and to reach out to our elected officials is really one of the major roles that Bay Planning takes very seriously. So again, I hope you enjoy and find informative what we're going to talk about today. Now it's my pleasure to welcome Omar Benjamin, our Executive Director from the Port of Oakland, the lands in which we're benefiting and enjoying today, who will introduce our opening speaker, Omar.
Good morning. Thank you, President Fiedler, members of the board of the Bay Planning Coalition, and Executive Director John Coleman, and the planning group for bringing this great conference here to us. We're very excited about this because it really gives us an opportunity to really bring together and give us an opportunity to take advantage of the expertise and the experiences in the room so we can further our economy. Welcome to the Port City of Oakland. On behalf of our board of Port Commissioners and our employees, we're delighted that the Bay Planning Coalition has brought the annual Decision Makers Conference here with over 350 leaders to our waterfront. The goal of our Decision Makers Conference is to bring together all of you here, our policy, business, labor, community, and regulatory leaders to tackle the most pressing issues at the intersection of maritime, commerce, and the Bay. And there's no better place, as Jim said, to do it than right here at Jack London Square, where the Port City of Oakland began. The port manages 3 lines of business. We have a full-service real estate operation along 20 miles of the Bay waterfront, hundreds of acres of public parks and conservation areas. Oakland International Airport, our nation's 5th largest container port serving markets in Asia, California, and across the United States. At the port, our staff and our board, working with you and our stakeholders, are focused on today's conference theme, namely the Maritime Bay, its economic importance to the Northern California economy. In terms of our contribution, the Port of Oakland, along with our partners, powers over 73,000 jobs in the region and impacts nearly 827,000 jobs nationwide. Every 1,000 cargo containers represents 8 direct jobs. The port handled over $41 billion in containerized cargo in 2011. This is a 14% increase in trade value over the previous year. Last month, I think we all saw the largest container ship ever to call North America, the MSC Fabiola, docked at the Port of Oakland, and we couldn't have gotten there without your help. Our airport, with over 10 million annual passengers and the #1 air cargo airport in the Bay Area, accounts for over 73,000 jobs I mentioned earlier. Our real estate lending and leasing and development activities account for nearly 8,000 of those 73,000 jobs. Again, I want to thank our partners in labor, business, regulatory and environmental communities, along with our electeds, the public sector, and our community for the work that you do to promote economic development and jobs in our region. As John mentioned, the Bay Area is a $535 billion economy that ranks amongst the top economies in the world. The strength and the growth of the Bay Area and the Northern California mega region, whether it be the $119 billion San Joaquin Valley gross domestic product or the $98 billion Sacramento GDP, or the innovation of the high-tech and biotech industries in our region, depend on the infrastructure and activities of the industrial and goods movement sectors. And at the heart of that are our airports and our ports. I know a number of my colleagues here from our airports and ports are here, and thank you for your work. Today's Decision Maker Conference provides us with a forum we need to discuss our region's critical maritime and industrial sector needs and to strengthen the coalitions and partnerships needed to keep this $535 billion regional economy strong. Now, it's my enormous honor and pleasure to introduce Supervisor Wilma Chan as our next speaker. She is a leader who represents Alameda County as the supervisor for District 3, which encompasses the real estate and aviation areas of the Port of Oakland. Supervisor Chan has served Alameda County and the Bay Area with distinction, including previous service as Majority Leader in the California State Assembly. She has been and continues to be a leader in advancing sustainable economic policies and promoting a jobs agenda which recognizes the need for balanced investments in our region's economic, environmental, and workforce priorities. We look forward with working with her and her colleagues on advancing many of the issues that we'll be discussing today, including connecting the Bay Area to international trade opportunities and promoting sustainable growth in the Bay Area. It is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome to the podium Alameda County Supervisor Wilma Chen, who will be presenting today's opening address. Please join me in extending a warm and gracious welcome to Alameda County Supervisor Ms. Wilma Chen.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank the Port of Oakland and the Bay Planning Coalition for having this great event today. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay, but I did look at the agenda, and I hope some great ideas come out of the discussion and workshops today. I understand they're going to be working hard, so I guess it's good the sun hasn't come out yet. Anyway, as Omar said, I'm really fortunate to represent this area of Oakland. And not only that, because most of my district is on the Bay, I've also had the privilege of serving on DCDC in my past time at the county and also since my return. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Will Travis. I know who will be receiving an award today. He said he's an advisor now with a little less stress, but I hope you will all listen to his advice because there's probably no one else in the state who has the depth of knowledge about policy and practices on the Bay, cutting edge. So I just want to tell you from the viewpoint of Alameda County, I mean, all of you know this, we go around, we represent communities, that the economy definitely is still the #1 issue facing residents in this area, above anything else, above crime, above other concerns. And I've been in this business for a long time. I think there are 2 keys to the economy, to a vibrant economy. One is education, obviously, and the other is jobs. And I think that we're well positioned in Alameda County and the Bay Area to address both of those issues. In education, of course, we have a long way to go. As you know, California is significantly underperforming not only the nation, but also internationally. When you look at the test scores, we really need to improve that situation. If our workforce is not available, if our workforce is not educated, the future, the economic future of this, not only this region, but of the country will be jeopardized. So we need to get on board with bills in Sacramento or events, not only to fund education, but to reform it so that it really works for our students and that they can all achieve, and to minimize the achievement gap between those who are doing really well and those who are doing poorly, because unfortunately those who are doing poorly are the majority at this point in California. In terms of jobs, I know you're going to be having a lot of discussion about economic forecast, and I think, obviously we have a lot of potential in this region. We are a large growing economy, even though our employment hasn't caught up. I think that we're getting out of the mire here. We're a great academic hub, so we have some great minds here in terms of policy. And in terms of moving on to the port, we're also the 4th largest exporting region in the entire United States. So in terms of trade, we're really well positioned. So obviously, we need a strong and vibrant port in the airport, in the Maritime, and in all areas. I think Omar might have mentioned that for Alameda County, we're very proud of the port. It generates 73,000 jobs, and half of those jobs are held by Alameda County residents. And not only that, but the jobs on the average pay 10% more than the county average. So we're talking about good jobs, good working class jobs that can sustain families in this area. So I think in order to advance this agenda, there are a number of policies that need to be paid attention to. So one is obviously we need to continue to lower the cost of dredging and disposal. When I was first elected to office, it was a great deal when the port went down to 25 feet, and now we're trying to finish the 50 feet. And who knows, right? There's a sea change going on in terms of vessels and what's needed. So we need to be able to keep up with that. We need to be able to find the resources to keep the port competitive in terms of its position in the economy. The other thing that was mentioned was cross-jurisdictional cooperation, and I think we're going to talk a lot about that today. The America's Cup takes place in San Francisco, but it affects the entire Bay. I live in the city of Alameda, and I know people in Alameda have formed a subcommittee. Everyone is very interested in what the result of the America Cup is going to be, not only just in terms of excitement, but in terms of economic possibilities. The third thing is, as I already mentioned, gathering resources. As we know, the federal government and the state are in a period of great distress. I know the port has struggled over the past years to find money for infrastructure. Although we have really great representation in Washington, it's still very difficult. And for security, security came up very heavily during the time I was in the legislature after 9/11. We still need to be concerned with that. A third area that I'm particularly concerned in is balancing environmental and business concerns. I think there's a lot of great policy development in that area. When I was leaving the Assembly in 2006, I participated in a press conference with the port when Maersk was introducing their non-polluting fuel. I think that because of the size of the port, the location of the port, and also the value of the bay, we have to continue to find technologies and find ways that there could be a balance. While we grow business, I don't see any reason why we can't also be environmentally conscious. So I'm very concerned with that. That's something that is important to the health of Alameda County residents. Fourthly, I think we need to have much stronger intergovernmental cooperation. I think, as you probably know from looking at the state, everything's being pushed down to the local level, or a lot of things are being pushed down to the local level, to the counties, to the cities. Yet the cities and counties are really straining under budgets and straining under the new mandates. But I also think on the positive side that some of the best ideas are going to be generated at the local level. So we need to have more opportunities like this to dialogue, not only between government agencies, but among businesses, among nonprofits, and to come up with the solutions. Because I actually think that everyone's saying this with some of the dysfunction at the state level these days. The answers are really going to come from here and go up. So we need to put our best minds here. And lastly, something that I've also been very involved in, trade promotion. I was really happy to hear that the governor is going to reopen trade offices in China, one or two. I think it was it was not a good decision to close down the Trade and Commerce departments over the past 10 years. California really needs a presence in Asia, and 60% of the port's container business is with Asia. So we really need to have those connections. And coming from an Asian background, I can tell you those personal connections mean a lot. You just can't fly in and cut a deal. So I'm really glad the trade offices are going to be open, and I think the port will have some opportunities again to work in a closer manner with California in terms of promoting trade and commerce. So again, I want to congratulate you all for being here today. The county is the regional presence in this area. We want to work with you to bring people together for the good of the economy, for the good of the port, and the good of the bay. And lastly, you're going to be hearing from Zach Wasserman at lunch, but I have to make a push for Measure B, our infrastructure bond, which will be on the November election. This was a very well thought out plan. It will be an opportunity for us not to have to worry about infrastructure in this area for the very long term. And this includes our roads, our transit, things that will benefit the intermodal activities of the port. So with that, I wish you a really good day, and thank you again for inviting me.